So where do we go from here? Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, this is kind of like an extension of Aquarius Moon Tarot. But we're going to be talking more about, specific forces, whether one considers them daemons or demons or gods or goddesses. That's irrelevant to this channel. We're going to gear more towards how they can work in your life and if it's even beneficial for you to contact them, or if it's beneficial when they reach out to you. I know a lot of occultists or witches or pagans might say, what? It's always beneficial. Well, no, not always. I'm going to be honest. But today we're going to talk about a very powerful and extremely well-known force, whether she is in the occult or the TV show, a video game, so forth and so on. And I'm pretty sure if you're watching this right now, you know exactly who I'm about to say, and that is Lilith. Goddess to many, demoness to many, terrifies the crap out of so many. I don't even know why. Is she very easygoing? No, she's not. She's not easygoing. Even if she has taken you under her wing and you have earned her favor, she's not one to stand back and baby you when you mess up. She's gonna tell you. She teaches the hard way. I've worked with her for a very long time, so I'm going to dispel the mythos of men can't work with her, so forth and so on. They can. She doesn't like, well, let's be real, she doesn't like misogynistic, hateful, angry, bitter, she broke my heart when I was 13 years old, so now I have a vendetta against the entire population. She's not with that. But does she reach out to those that have been hurt? Like, yeah, she broke my heart and I was kind of like a good person to her and so forth. Yeah, she will. That's if she chooses to work with you, if it benefits both you and her. It has to be a working, beneficial relationship no matter who it is that you work with. It has to be, there are people out there and there are beings out there that will just be very one-sided. Some practitioners do not mind just having a shrine of their favorite deity or Loa or spirit or whatever title we're using today, only to offer it, offerings, flowers, rum, whatever it may be, all day, every day, and get no reply. Some people are happy with that. Some people are more content with that, and that might sound crazy to some, but it is just as valid as someone that might work with that specific force on a back forth. To that person that is just honoring that specific deity with really no qualms on getting a reply, usually reads about the history of that deity and says, okay, I'm trying to align and apply these teachings that this deity has given to the mankind unto myself. So I'll sit back and I'll read that extra mythos for me, for my own psycho-spiritual growth. I think it's psycho-spiritual, psychoactive spiritual, psychosomatic. I don't know. Anyway, but back to Lilith. Okay, this is going to be more of a how-to. Now, there are many ways to work with this specific force. Like many deities, many forces, many demons, many angels, many gods, goddess, fairies, you name it. They have multiple sides to them. You have to look at a deity or a force as you would look at a human. No, they're not humans, but what I'm saying is humans have so many different sides to them. We have good days, we have bad days, we have secret sides, we have not so many secret sides, we have kind sides, we have the bad side, we have so many sides. And if I could best explain that, you could look at Hecate, for example, and her many epithets. Some people choose to just work with her as a whole, but some people choose to work with specific ones that pertain to a specific problem and or that specific aspect of her. But with Lilith, it's kind of like you gotta take it all when it comes. I mean, if you wanted to, you can connect with her if she's willing to connect with you through the angels of prostitution rituals. Yes, we're not gonna go into that. It's not as crazy as it might sound. It's not as crazy as it might sound, but that is the 4 angels of prostitution that deals with Nama, Agareth, Agrat, that sort of thing. But we have to be real here. This is Lilith, okay? And we're not going to lean towards watering down her lore or her history or her mythos of anything. She is who she is. And that's the biggest step to accepting her. because a lot of the community, and I'm not taking shots, I did it once or twice in my magical career. I got it wrapped me up, you know what I'm saying? I was like, Lilith. Like I was swooned. Who would not be swooned if you work in the occult and you are a gentleman or a woman, so forth and so on, and you just admire this figure as a being, all mythology aside, and you just admire her. She's very powerful. She is one of those forces that could easily swoon someone in, even if she's not trying. Her energy is intoxicating. Her energy is powerful, but it's also very subtle when she wants it to be. She can be very explosive. She can show up and the whole neighborhood can know that she's there. I've had a friend that literally said, okay, I'm about to head out, bro, because you got, I know you real, but yeah, I don't want to see that. It wasn't nothing bad, you know what I'm saying? But he had a spiritual experience, and that was cool, because when you have other people that don't practice spirituality or other traditions, and they see what you've been working with for a long time, and they just confirm that, it is one of the best feelings on the face of the planet. But I know I kind of ran around the rigmarole. Okay, so there's ways to work with her. Like, usually people, you can find her heavy within Klepothic magic, the Citra Akra. I know I butchered that. Sorry. But I mostly have always connected with her. For me, when I first reached out to her, side note, I was a little low-key nervous because that was her. Not so much nervous on the aspect that she would smite me down or something like that. I kind of put those whole things to the side of, oh, she hates this, she doesn't like this, she won't do this, she won't do. I'm that type of person. Oh, that's what they say. I'm about to go find out for myself. I'm about to go find out, because it's crazy that when you, in general, when you mess around and read or hear something about somebody and they say, oh, this person doesn't like, that person hates, usually it's good to go find out for yourself. You know, it's pretty much a good idea to go find out for yourself. So the way I found out was pretty much simple. I didn't have much of anything at the time to make this happen, so I used a purple candle. I wrote up a letter towards her, for her, explaining within the letter what it was I wanted to accomplish, my dreams, my goals. I just writing her a letter, you know, nothing too deep. It wasn't super, you know, elaborate, so forth and so on. I had a candle, and then I made sure, of course, you always want to make sure that you have your candles in safe places so they will not fall over and, you know, set things ablaze. So I suggest, if you can, like, get a candle holder and put it inside like a, you know, a bowl of water or something. So if your candle did fall, it would just fall into the water, you know, so forth and so on. So you also are adding that element of water towards the mix of it, which works good, and it looks pretty cool. So I had a basic, like, purplish type candle, if I'm correct. Yeah, it was purplish. Purplish or white. It was old. That's all I had. But that letter is what came with so much sincerity, because I was so adamant about connecting with this one. I mean, out of everyone else in the universe, everyone else in the occult, I said, her right there, right her. That's her. That's her. And interestingly enough, when I first got into the occult and to the craft, it was more of a home base ancestral sort of thing. So it wasn't read about different mythos and different deities, and I heard of Aphrodite and things like that, but I really wasn't on the god tip. I really wasn't on the goddess tip. I was more on the tip of just God and goddess ancestors. Just, you know, a tarot, not even a tarot deck, just really just honing my spiritual senses, just very just nature-y sort of, just that was my thing. And then I left everything alone for a while, and then came back, and I was like, well, let's see, how can I get back into it? And I ran across Lilith, you know, interestingly enough, because I'm not really a TV guy, I'm not really a, you know, I didn't really focus on many avenues that would have had to do with her. I mean, I watched Charmed, but for the most part, it, you know, they didn't really touch base on her. So when I did cross paths with her, so forth and so on, I was like, okay, this one seems good. This one looks like the scariest one in the entire universe. This one looks terrifying, period, point blank, the end. Let's see what's going on with her. So I took my little candle or whatever, and my very well thought out handwritten letter. A very well thought out handwritten letter. It doesn't have to be something huge, and you don't even have to follow the handwritten letter. That's just what I did. You could place a black candle and a red candle, or two red candles out. Like, you know, she's at the end of the day a woman. So when you are working with such a sensual, powerful, creative, or destructive force such as her, you have to factor in so much that will come with that current. You have to factor in things that she might want you to put on the altar. Blood, for example. Yes, blood is a very powerful spiritual catalyst. People kind of freak out on the blood aspect, and I kind of see why, but if you follow the right proper precautions and everything of that nature, you're pretty much good to go and nothing can really go wrong. You know, now if you jump into it like, I'm just going to just do this, whatever, without any form of spiritual protection, that's when you have issues. I'm not talking about spiritual protection from Lilith. I'm not talking about spiritual protection from the ancestors that are hanging out. I'm talking about spiritual protection from some wild little no-name being entity out there that just loves to bring discord to people, that is looking for the first hit that it can get to empower it in blood, life force fluids, so forth and so on. That is why they have so much power. That is like gold on the astral plane. I know many might disagree, but blood, rum, things like that, that is gold on the astral plane. You got that, they happy. I'm not saying all of them, but think of what blood is. Think of what the elements are and how the elements align to us. Blood will be our passion. Our tears is the element of water. Blood is the element of fire. Our body is the element of earth. Our intellect, our breath is the element of air. We come together and create spirit. Like, you see where it's going with it? That's some powerful stuff within the realm of magic. You know, especially if you follow a more nature-based path. I personally don't always use the elements within my workings. Well, I should say I don't always open the temple with the LBRP, so forth and so on. In fact, I highly disagree with using the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram when you're working any clipothic workings or any Luciferian workings or any workings of the shadow side. I don't think that's a good idea. Not because you're going to explode, but simply because it just won't freaking work. You're going into their dimension, into their realm, the shadow realms, whatever you want to call them, Thameo, Gamaliel, the many names that they have within the Cliffas. Gamaliel is pretty much like the adverse side of the moon. So think of dark light. You know, the Cliffa is pretty much the husks, the shells, where everything that didn't make it in creation went. So every single force that you could think of that would scare the crap out of you, that goes bump in the night, is within the Cliff Oath. Is it as terrifying as it may be? Yeah, it is. It is. But it's not like terrifying as in you won't want to go near it again. Like with Lilith. She can be terrifying, but she can be very, very, very seductive. Now, I'll say one thing about her. She's the type to come in. The minute you say, do this, and she agrees. Okay, y'all got that working relationship. I'm going to be honest to my gentleman. If she favors you, she's going to have so many people cut out of your life. So many women are going to get cut out of your life. Because one thing I've learned from her and about her is she does require excellence. But she's going to let you bump your head. She's not going to step. She might be like, that's not a good idea, child. I'm not saying she talks like that, but she might pop in and just look at you and shake her head and leave. Or energy, or one of her daughters or sons might show up. That's a perk of it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And usually if those that work with her, they are assigned certain sons and daughters of her, and they make valuable, amazing partners in everything. One was assigned to me. She's been pretty much with me since I started, period. If you believe in reincarnation, that is. And she has never let me down, ever, period. So when it comes to her, a lot of people will say she will two-time people, she will get over on people. That is really not the case at all. She will match your energy, if anything. She knows who's really true and who's just and who's about that magic and who's not. So, yeah, that was pretty much all over the place, but there's so many ways to work with her. I would say, honestly, for those that are taking interest in working with her, start reading everything you can get your hands on. Whether it's stuff you don't like, or read it all. Because that's one thing that isn't really done within the community anymore. We'll see something that says a bad thing about a witch, and we'll suddenly not want to read that because, oh, the witch is oppressed. And that really ain't always the case. Okay, I know some witches out there that live in a high life that just don't give a damn about nobody. Period. And they living the high life because they don't give a damn about nobody. I'm not going to say karma going to come kick their ass, because I'm not one to really go by karma. I go by divine justice. I go by the wrath of the gods, but I don't go by karma. I don't. I never have. Do I believe that it's real? Yeah, I do. But am I versed in that tradition enough to break it down? Nah, I know someone it is, and she broke that stuff down to me, and she's like, it don't go the way that everybody says it's going to go. So I was like, okay, cool. Am I saying that gives you a right to go out there and do whatever the hell you want to do? No. But it don't hit like people think. So, in final, connecting with her is easier than one may think. Now, mind you, she doesn't work with every single person on planet Earth. And I think I should dispel the myth. Not every single deity out there is going to work with everybody that reaches out to them, period. They're not. They're not. I mean, they're not. They're just not. You got all these. If one don't want to work with you, move on. It might be sucky because you might really want to work with that specific force, but then you can't because they just don't want to at that specific time. Then like 12 years later, they're like, hey, how you doing? Sometimes it's just not time. But read about her. Immerse yourself in her history. Not just the surface level. Dig deep. Okay, I am not really one to go into where she came from or this, that, and the other, because I have my own gnosis that came from that, from working with her. And some of it does contradict what the books have said about her, but at the same time, everything that she has said has come to pass with me. Every single time she said something, she stood on business and made it happen. Every time she said, get up, it's time to do this ritual at 3 o'clock in the friggin' morning, get up, and she'll wake you up. Oh, you will get up. I've never had a fail with her. The only time any working with her has failed is if I went off the handle and said, this is what I'm going to do, I don't care. She'll shut it down because she sees the possible explosion. And is that a good force to look out for you? Yeah, it is to have a force like that in your corner saying nah, but then also in her defense, it benefits her as well. Every relationship has to benefit two people or whatever, or however the dynamic is. That's just the reality of the world. That's just the reality. Relationships have to be beneficial or they will be one-sided, and that does not just include human to human relationships. If a man has a pet puppy and the puppy want to play all the time and the man don't want to play, the puppy gonna be like, well, screw you, bro. Alright, then I'll go hang out with the stranger around the corner then. Same with man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, dog and dog, God and human, whatever. So when you finish reading about the mythos of her and you feel that you have some information, start looking into beings that are connected to her, like Nama or Agrat, Zanunum, so forth and so on. Look into those forces, because in many traditions, I don't like saying bounce all over the board, but you can find some pretty good information within the study of Nama, for example, that will connect you deeper to Lilith, hence the 4 angels of prostitution. Now, people might think prostitution, oh my God, you have to look at the context that is placed in, okay? You have sex, and then you have sex magic, okay? So you can have a couple A just having sex, and then couple B spent all this time to go ahead and prepare, and even though it is pleasurable, even though it is hedonistic, so forth and so on, it's our nature. It's who we are. So for those who might hear that word and be like, oh my God, not that word, she's not of this. Don't look at it like that, okay? But it's no secret to Lilith and how she has always enjoyed pleasure, how she has always been for liberation, so forth and so on. And from my research, so forth and so on, she is really prevalently heavy within many occult circles right now. And that's fine. That's right. That's awesome. Get out there, do what you got to do. I'm more of the neutral candidate when it comes to things like that. I just like to see my deities flourish in people's lives, or the deities or the forces that I work with, how it flourishes in their life, because then that makes me sit back and say, yo, that's like a manifestation for someone else that I got to be a part of just from looking at it. So now that's how she worked with that. Damn, I didn't even know she rocked like that. So then I go jump in the circle or whatever, the temple, and and powwow with her and be like, yo, how can I jump on that? And how can I go ahead and not ride the coat wagon or ride the coattails, but how can I apply that certain energy that you popping out over there towards my path? But also remember, it starts very small. Some of the most powerful magic is started extremely with just a candle and a sigil. And sigils, they're kind of new. So if you don't have access to a sigil, don't worry about it. Not everybody can connect with sigils. Dirty confession, out of all the magical tools on the face of the planet, sigils is one thing that I have struggled with the most in my entire life to connect with. I don't even use them suckers. I have them, yes. And they do make beautiful floral pieces and beautiful altar placements. And sometimes them suckers will kick off on me. But the way I have connected has never been in the sigil aspect. It has always been in a invocation sort of thing. And from there, that's when I ask them kindly to manifest, because there's ways that you can get them to manifest, or if they even want to manifest. And it usually goes through that. So sigils are great. If you do have a sigil, whatever you do, don't burn it. Don't get rid of it. If you create one for her, now remember, creating a sigil for Lilith, you can go pick one up off the internet and they all work. Yes, they do. But when you create your own, that's going to be a powerful sigil. It might not feel that powerful because, everybody else using that sigil over there. And, it might not be perfect looking like that one, but it's still yours. There was a sigil that someone created one time and put that sucker online. It is now officially the #1 sigil for Lilith. People took that sigil, and due to it not being copywritten, they took it and they messed around and they just started making amulets and talismans and everything. And I know the person's probably sitting back like, damn, yo, see what I'm going with it though, how things gain power. So yeah, now some simplicity. If you do want to connect with her, get yourself a little table. Doesn't have to be anything major. Trust me. Sincerity and respect go a long way with this, okay? I would say clean the table off, of course. Wash it down. And if you can, go ahead and purify. Go ahead and do that. If you can get yourself some sage, go ahead. But if you don't have sage, you can purify with pine needles. If you can get your access to some pine needles, go ahead and get you some. Let them dry up for a couple of days. Wrap them up like a smudge stick and light it. Same thing. Purifying, powerful stuff for the record. Or you can just, for lack of a better term, make a salt and water mixture and enchant that and call to the creature of salt and the element of water to empower. And then after you've done that and cleansed it with that, put it outside for like an hour and ask the element of air to come through and help purify and cleanse that. These are ways that you can work with the elements in conjunction. It doesn't always have to be standing in a circle like yeah, we all been there, right? Standing in a circle like crap. I'm freezing my balls off at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you hear a little voice in your head that says, "No one told you to try sky-clad workings, child." But they let you do it because they're just kind of giggling at you. Yeah, deities do giggle. But get you a small table. I would honestly say red candles, but you can work with a black candle also. So black and red, or just black or just red. Doesn't have to be a multiple amount. You can have just one or two. Try not to go with scented ones. Go with unscented. It can be a votive candle. I'm not so much for the 7-day burning candles because you're just kind of like reaching out and saying hello. And it's kind of like, I'm not a fan of 7-day candles. I'm just not. I'm not. So I would use like taper candles. Or interestingly enough, the little birthday candles. Those work too. Those are great for 15 to 25 minute rituals, especially if you're getting started into magic and you have a little bit of, you got to build that psychic muscle. You got to build that magical muscle. So some people might be able to just fly through 1 hour long rituals and read super long incantations and conjurations while looking at the spirit. And you're just like, well, I can burn a bay leaf. Don't be ashamed of that. That's cool because everyone was once at that phase where they're like, crap. So you got your table, your birthday candles. If you can't find any color candles, use a white one. Use a regular white candle. And when you get this candle, of course, you want to cleanse it. You want to purify it. There's plenty of things online that teach you with that, so it's not hard to do. Trust me, you can. It's 1,000,000 ways. And I would say just start playing something music-wise that will remind you of Lilith, or find an incense that she loves and burn it. Just think of her. Create a song in your head. Something to align you to that current. And then go ahead and write her name in the candle. Just top to bottom, so forth and so on. We're not going to go in from bottom to top to bottom. We're just doing some basic candle work. So we're not so much focused on the banishing or attracting, right? And that's not in every tradition. That's just in certain traditions, okay? So up or down don't really matter, all right? Then when it's time, go ahead, your offerings, whatever it may be, or your letters or things like that, your chocolates, your whatever it may be, because there's so much online that she would love, And sometimes when you offer them something that you think they would like, they like it. They do. Like, they do. If you can, it's about offering. And sometimes offering is just from your heart. You're giving up something that you liked to them. And even in her eyes, in my opinion, from my experience and others that have worked with her and chatting with women and men that have worked with her, she does react to kindness. This does not mean that she is going to show up on a cloud with a puppy. No, she's not. No, she's not. And for those who have read her history and her mythos, damn well why I'm saying no, she's not. And she usually lets you know if she don't want to work with you. She just won't show up. But depending on the person, their psyche, how they develop magically, how they are as an individual, will actually determine how she manifests in front of you. I'm just going to say when she manifested in front of me, it was terrifying. It wasn't terrifying as in I ran away, but terrifying as in whoa. And then I called to her again and I went back to sleep. And I got the gnosis during the astral dream time. So you got the table, you got the candles, you got the offerings. You just want to set it somewhere, I would say in a dimly lit area. Some nice seductive music, tantra music would be good to play in the background, so forth and so on. Understand that she's, free. She's wild. She's the wild woman. She's all that is shadowy. She flies on the red desert sands, veiled in lunar elegance. So think of all that silver, just different blood. Yeah, blood too. That works as well, but you don't have to give her gallons of it. A couple drops in some water goes a long way, or a couple drops on a sigil, or a couple drops on a table, or a couple drops whatever as an offering unto her. Again, you don't have to dice your hand open. That's no. Don't do that. Don't. Okay. Don't. I'm not saying don't do it where you gotta go to the doctor. And then just go ahead and say a prayer out. If you're into divination, go ahead and divine after. I would say go to sleep first. Let the rite end and then divine in the morning, whether you use tarot, oracle, so forth and so on. But, just be open about what it is that you want to do. And 9 times out of 10, she's going to pop up. She is. Just at least to check you out. And then in the morning, go ahead and carry out a divination. But also, after you do that ritual, take about 2 weeks to really research her correspondences, her incenses, so forth and so on. If you start to smell one of those incenses and you don't even have it, look into that ability, because that's the way she's reaching out to you. Certain animals, I've noticed that she whispers. Like, she'll whisper in your ear. She will. She can also be very playful. So, I'm not really on the wall with, some say that she was never like a fan of kids. And if you really read deep stuff about that, that can go so many ways. But I'm here to tell you that she's never done anything to me and never harmed me. And she has always been loving and kind to me. Stern. Yes. And she put her foot on my butt a couple times as well. And that hurt. So, I caught the lesson from that. But for the most part, I'm not going to say she's a jealous deity, because I work with a few. Her space is her space, as Hecate's space is her space, as the Norn space is their space, as, the ancestors' space is their space, as the angelic space are their space. Mama Danto, her space is her space. You see where I'm going with it? But as long as you don't mix practices, so forth and so on, you should be good. Now, if you do agree to work exclusively just with her and her only, that's awesome, because that's what I did. But somewhere down the line, she personally voided that. Not because I let her down or I failed a mission, but because there were other beings that she knew would have been able to teach me things that would have been beneficial to my path and my future progression with what she has to teach me down the line. So, you see how that is? There was a time I was just exclusively working with her, and then things were modified and altered and changed and things of that nature. All right. So hopefully this is beneficial to someone that does resonate. I'm most likely going to have a tarot reading on my Aquarius Moon Tarot channel soon. That is also where you can find the short videos for the Nurse's Corner. If you want to check that out, that's on TikTok. Other than that, Hecate and Enigma is something coming from that one soon. But I'm really led to work with this podcast thing right now and the breakdown. It's fun, because I get to speak from my own personal experience and don't have to be so worried about being professional or perfect. I can just let it run and just have the candle lit in the background, a little bit of music I add to it, or just vibe to it, and just really flow from my experiences, because I think that's how we grow. The books are great, so forth and so on, but if you can't sit down and have these discussions, whether you fully agree with people or not is irrelevant. You have to be able to sit down and be challenged. You can still go back and believe and follow what you follow, but it's good to progress, it's good to add on, it's good to evolve, it's good to expand, So hopefully this resonates. And I don't know who I'm going to do next. It's probably going to be Goetic. Not quite sure. But I got something coming. I don't know who, but somebody coming. But all right, y'all. Go ahead and subscribe and like and all that good stuff. And check out Aquarius Moon Tarot. I got tarot goodies over there. All right, y'all. Peace.